It started with the mirror. Elena Voss noticed it the first week she moved into Unit 7C. The full-length mirror on the closet door reflected the bedroom perfectly, except for one tiny detail. The reflection of her bed was always made. Sheets tucked tight, pillows fluffed, comforters smooth. In reality, her bed was always a mess, blankets half off, one pillow on the floor, the way she left it every morning. She told herself it was a trick of the light, or maybe the previous tenant had been obsessively neat and the mirror had some weird optical memory. She laughed it off, moved the bed a foot to the left. The reflection stayed perfect, made, always. That was day 6. By day 10, she stopped looking at the mirror when she got dressed. She'd turn her back to it, pull clothes on quickly, and leave the room, which she could feel it watching. Not the mirror itself, something through it. The air in front of the glass felt colder than the rest of the apartment, like standing in front of an open freezer. She tried covering it with a sheet. The next morning, the sheet was on the floor, neatly folded. Not crumpled, folded. Hospital corners. She called the landlord. He came up, looked at the mirror, shrugged. "Old building, mirrors warp sometimes. You want maintenance to take it down?" She said no. Taking it down felt like admitting something was wrong, like giving it permission to escalate. 2 weeks later, the reflection started moving without her. She'd walk into the bedroom and catch it out of the corner of her eye, her reflected self sitting on the edge of the bed, not standing where she was standing, sitting, head tilted slightly, looking straight at the real Elena. When she turned to face the mirror, the reflection snapped back to normal, standing, matching her posture, innocent. But the delay was getting shorter. Half a second, a quarter, blink and you miss it. She started recording, phone propped on the dresser, facing the mirror. She'd leave the room for 10 minutes, come back, play it. Nothing, just her empty reflection of an empty room. Then one night, she left the camera running while she showered. The footage showed the bedroom door closed, the bed made, the mirror reflecting nothing unusual until 11:42 p.m. The reflected bedroom light flickered just once, like a bulb about to die. Then the reflected Elena walked in, not the real one. The real one was still in the shower. The reflected Elena sat on the bed. She reached under the mattress and pulled out a small black box Elena had never seen before. She opened it, looked inside for a long moment, then closed it and slid it back under. She stood up, smoothed the comforter, and walked out of frame toward the reflected door. Elena watched the video 6 times. She checked under her own mattress. Nothing. No box. No trace. She moved the bed to the living room that night, slept on the couch with every light on. The next morning, she went back into the bedroom. The bed was back in its original spot, made, perfect. She didn't scream. She just stood there, breathing through her mouth, tasting metal. The mirrors started showing other things. Not every time. Sometimes days would pass normally. Then, late at night, she'd glance at it and see the room as it wasn't. The reflected walls had different paint, darker, almost bruised purple. The reflected window showed daylight even though it was 3 a.m. outside. And sometimes there were people in the reflected room. Not her, strangers. A woman in a gray cardigan sitting in the armchair that Elena didn't own. A man standing by the window, back turned, hands in pockets. They never looked at the mirror. They just existed, patient. She stopped sleeping in the apartment, couch surfed with friends, told them she had bed bugs, came back during the day to grab clothes, check mail. Each time, the mirror showed more. One afternoon, she walked in, and the reflected room was full. 5, maybe 6 people, standing in a loose circle around the bed, all facing inward, no faces visible, heads bowed, hair hanging forward. The reflected bed had something on it, a shape under the comforter, long, still. Elena backed out, slammed the door, and didn't return for 3 days. When she finally did, she brought a hammer. She stood in front of the mirror, heart hammering, raised the tool. The reflection raised it too, perfect sync. She swung. The glass shattered inward, not outward. Shards flew toward her, embedding in her forearms, her cheek. She dropped the hammer. Blood dripped onto the carpet. The frame was now empty, just a black rectangle on the closet door. But the room felt smaller. She cleaned the cuts, bandaged them, tried to convince herself it was over. She slept on the couch again. Middle of the night, she woke to the sound of soft footsteps in the bedroom. Not loud, just deliberate, bare feet on carpet, moving toward the threshold. She sat up, froze. The footsteps stopped at the threshold. Then the bedroom light clicked on. Elena hadn't touched the switch. From the couch, she could see into the bedroom. The bed was made. The closet door, now just an empty black rectangle, was open. Darkness inside, deeper than it should be. Something stepped out. Not a person, not exactly. It wore her clothes, the gray hoodie she'd left on the chair yesterday, her jeans, her sneakers, but the proportions were wrong. Arms too long, head tilted at an angle necks don't bend. It walked into the living room light. Its face was her face, but the eyes were wrong, too wide, no blink, pupils fixed on her. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It just stood there, matching her breathing. In, out, in, out. Elena didn't move, couldn't. After almost 4 minutes, it turned, walked back into the bedroom, into the black rectangle where the mirror used to be. The light clicked off. She left that night, didn't pack, didn't lock the door, just ran. She never went back for her things. Months later, she got a call from the landlord. New tenant in 7C was complaining about the mirror, said the reflection didn't match, said the bed was always made when she left it messy, said sometimes when she looked, she saw other people in the room, standing in a circle, looking down on something under the covers. Elena hung up, blocked the number. She lives in a studio now. No mirrors, no full-length anything, just a small hand mirror she keeps face down in a drawer. Every night before bed, she checks the drawer, makes sure it's face down, because sometimes she dreams she opens it, and her reflection is already looking back, smiling, wearing her clothes, waiting for her to step aside so it can step out.
Nathan Cole noticed something at around 11:47 p.m. on his way back from the laundry room, arms full of warm towels. The bulb above the 9th floor corridor had been buzzing for weeks, but tonight it simply quit. No pop, no flash, just darkness that swallowed the entire stretch from the elevator to his door, 9H. He fumbled for his keys in the black. The building was old, the kind of old that still had rotary phones in the lobby and asbestos warnings taped to the basement door. Management never fixed anything until someone complained in writing. Nathan figured he'd add it to the list tomorrow. Inside, he dropped the towels on the couch, kicked off his shoes, and headed for the kitchen to pour a glass of water. That's when he saw the light under the bedroom door. Soft, yellow, steady. He lived alone. He hadn't turned on any lights in the bedroom since he left for work that morning. He stood in the hallway, glass halfway to his lips, listening. No television murmur, no phone speaker, no footsteps, just that quiet rectangle of light glowing under the door like someone was waiting inside with a lamp turned low. He set the glass down without a sound, backed up 3 steps. Then he crossed to the front door again, opened it, and looked both ways down the dark corridor. Nothing moved. The elevator was silent. No one else on the floor. He closed the door, locked it, deadbolt, chain. Then he walked to the bedroom door and pressed his ear against the wood. Silence. He turned the knob slowly, pushed. The door swung inward on oiled hinges. The bedside lamp was on, the one he never used because the bulb flickered. Shade tilted slightly, as though someone had adjusted it for a better view. The bed was made, hospital corners, pillowcases smoothed flat. He hadn't made the bed in 3 weeks. On the nightstand sat a single object he did not own, a small black instant camera, the kind that spits out a photo immediately, lens pointed straight at the bed. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he heard the faint whir. The camera ejected a fresh Polaroid. He didn't touch it at first, just watched as the white square slowly darkened into an image. It was him, standing exactly where he was standing now, in the bedroom doorway, staring at the camera on the nightstand. Same faded gray hoodie, same bare feet, same expression, jaw tight, eyes wide. The timestamp in the corner, 11:52 p.m., 5 minutes ago. He lunged forward, snatched the photo, tore it in half, then in quarters, dropped the pieces, grabbed the camera, ripped the film cartridge out, smashed the whole thing against the wall until plastic cracked and batteries rolled across the floor. The lamp stayed on. He backed out of the room, closed the door, locked it from the outside with the little twist knob he'd never used before. He spent the rest of the night on the couch, every light in the apartment blazing, staring at the bedroom door. No sound came from inside, no footsteps, no shutter clicks. At 6:03 a.m., the hallway light came back on, just flickered once and stayed steady as though nothing had happened. He left for work without opening the bedroom door. When he returned that evening, the chain was still latched, the deadbolt still turned. He had to use his key to get in. The bedroom door was open. The lamp was off. On the nightstand sat another camera, identical to the first, brand new, film loaded. A fresh Polaroid already lay beside it, face up. The photo showed him standing in the hallway outside the bedroom door, hand on the knob, about to push it open, shot from inside the room. Timestamp, 11:58 p.m., tonight. He was still holding his keys, right now. He dropped them. The keys clattered on the floor. From inside the bedroom came a single, soft click. Not a shutter, a door latch releasing. He turned and ran. He didn't stop for shoes, didn't grab his phone, didn't lock the apartment behind him. He took the stairs down 9 floors, burst into the lobby, and kept going until he reached the street. He never went back. Months later, he wakes up at 11:47 p.m. every night, no matter where he is, friend's couch, cheap motel, sister's spare room. He lies still, eyes open in the dark, waiting for the hallway light to flicker off. It always does. And somewhere, in whatever apartment he left behind, a small black camera sits on a nightstand, lens pointed at an empty bed, waiting for the next tenant to come home late, waiting for the light to go out, waiting to take the first picture.
It started with the smell. Marcus Reyes smelled it the day he signed the lease on Unit 9F. Faint at first, like someone had left wet laundry in a closed room for weeks. Mildew mixed with something sweeter, almost coppery. The landlord blamed old pipes. Marcus, desperate after 3 months couch surfing, signed anyway. Rent was cheap. Views of the city skyline. 9th floor. No immediate neighbors on either side. 9E and 9G had been vacant for months, according to the paperwork.
The smell got stronger every day. By week 2, it was unmistakable. Rotting meat left in the sun. He tore apart the fridge, checked under the sink, pulled the stove out. Nothing. The odor seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, strongest in the hallway that led to the single bedroom. At night, it thickened until he could taste it on his tongue. He complained. The super shrugged. Old building, happens. Promised to send someone. No one came. On the 18th night, Marcus woke at 3:11 a.m. to the sound of breathing. Not his own. Slower, deeper, coming from the other side of the bedroom wall, the one that backed onto 9G. He sat up in the dark, sheets twisted around his legs. The breathing paused when he moved, then resumed exactly in time with his own breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, matching him perfectly, but heavier, like lungs twice the size of his. He pressed his palm to the wall. Cold. The breathing stopped the instant his skin touched plaster. He yanked his hand back. The breathing started again, his rhythm, but not his sound. He didn't sleep after that. The next morning, he knocked on 9G. No answer. Door locked. Mail slot empty. He went downstairs to the leasing office. 9G's been empty since before you moved in, the woman said, checking her screen. Previous tenant left suddenly. No forwarding address. We haven't relisted it yet. Marcus asked if he could see inside. She said maintenance had the key, but they were out until next week. He bought a cheap stud finder from the hardware store that afternoon. Back in his apartment, he ran it along the shared wall. The device beeped steadily, solid, no studs missing, no hollow spots. But when he reached the bedroom section, it went silent for a foot-wide strip, dead center, like something metal was embedded in the wall, blocking the signal. He tapped the spot. It sounded different, not hollow, muffled, like knocking on a thick door. That night, the breathing returned, louder, closer, and this time it wasn't just matching him. It spoke. Not words at first, just a low, wet sigh that shaped itself into his name. Marcus. Then the sigh again, longer, almost amused. Marcus, open the door. There was no door in that wall, just smooth plaster. He didn't answer. The breathing continued all night, patient, never tiring. By day 4, he was unraveling, bags under his eyes, hands shaking when he poured coffee. He started recording the wall with his phone propped against it. Playback showed nothing but static and his own breathing, except for one 6-second stretch where a second set of lungs layered underneath his, perfectly synced, then slowly drifted out of phase until they were breathing against his rhythm, antiphonal, mocking. He called a friend, played the clip. The friend laughed nervously. Bro, that's just compression artifacts, or maybe the AC vent. You're stressed. Marcus hung up. He knew what he'd heard. On the 7th night, the smell became unbearable. He gagged walking into the bedroom. The air felt thick, oily. He grabbed a crowbar from under the sink, leftover from moving, and attacked the wall at the dead spot. Plaster crumbled fast, too fast, like it was barely holding anything together. Drywall dust clouded the room. Underneath was not insulation or brick. It was another wall, 6 inches back, smooth, unpainted drywall, clean, almost new, no dust on it, no scuffs, like it had been built yesterday. He stared. The breathing started again, from behind the second wall now. He swung the crowbar. The inner drywall split easily. A black gap opened. Cold air poured out, not building air, basement cold, graveyard cold, with that sweet rot smell turned up to choking. He shined his phone flashlight inside. A narrow space, maybe 18 inches wide, ran the length of the shared wall. No lights, no vents, just darkness stretching left and right. And footprints. Fresh ones, bare feet in the fine layer of construction dust on the floorboards. Toes pointed towards his apartment, leading straight to the hole he'd just made. The footprints stopped inches from the gap. Then he saw the shape. Curled in the far corner of the crawl space, back to him, knees drawn up, arms wrapped around them, naked, skin pale, almost gray, hair long, matted the same dark brown as his own, shoulders rising and falling with each breath. The shape lifted its head slowly. It turned. Marcus dropped the phone. The light clattered, beam spinning wildly before settling on the thing's face. His face. Exact. Same scar above the left eyebrow from a childhood fall. Same crooked incisor. Same mole under the right eye. But the eyes, wide, unblinking, pupils blown so large there was almost no iris. It smiled with his mouth. Then it spoke with his voice. "You took so long." Marcus stumbled backward. The thing unfolded, limbs too long, joints bending wrong, and crawled towards the hole, fast, silent. He ran, slammed the bedroom door, dragged the dresser in front of it, grabbed his keys, wallet, phone, bolted for the front door. Behind him, from the bedroom, he heard the dresser scrape across the floor, slowly, deliberately. He didn't wait for the elevator, took the stairs 9 floors down, lungs burning, bare feet slapping concrete. He never went back. Weeks later, the building manager called. New tenant in 9F was complaining about a bad smell, said it was strongest in the bedroom, said sometimes at night he heard breathing from the wall, said he found a hole patched with fresh drywall, but behind it, just more wall. Marcus hung up, changed his number. He lives in a new city now, ground floor studio, no shared walls. But every night before he sleeps, he checks the mirrors, the windows, the shadows, because sometimes he catches a glimpse, peripheral, quick, of his own silhouette standing just behind him, not moving, just watching, waiting for him to turn around and smile back.